Howdy, hi. Welcome to my channel. Thanks for joining us. We are now in Texas. I'm out staying with my mom and her husband in Port Aransas, Texas. She's got some chemo coming up, so I'm just going to hang out here and keep her company. And in some spare time, we are going to do some Zen Doodle classes. So if you remember the wood video where we practice our wood. We are going to morph off of that and do wood with a cool little design in there. So you can make any old design, or you can create these. I used the inside of this piece right here, or you can use any kind of cool object around your house that you want to get those kind of ghost lines or the ghost objects in your piece. Grab your pen, grab your pencil, grab a piece of paper, and any kind of objects you want to trace, or if you just want to freehand it. Today I'll be freehanding it. Let's get started, shall we? All right, let's take a moment to relax into our chair, set our intention this evening for a nice relaxing evening. Take a deep breath, and now we're going to draw an object in our square. It can be any object. It can be a heart, it can be a circle, a moon, a star, a teardrop, whatever you feel that you want to put inside your Zen Doodle. This is going to create a negative space in our piece of art. So it doesn't matter how perfect it's, don't strive for perfection here. We're just going to erase this. This is just creating an outline for us to work with. So I'm just going to clean up this heart right here, bring it around like so. I don't even worry about those lines in the center because they're just not necessary. Just going to put in a few circles for some added detail. And that's that. That's the pencil part. I want to put in a border on this piece because I'm dealing with ripped edges on this paper. It's a 3.5 square inch. I've ripped the sides, so I'm going to do a border because when I work with a Sharpie or a Zen Tangle pen, it causes a bleeding on the side, and I don't like that. It looks all gunked up. So I'm just going to put in a quick border around. It doesn't have to be perfect. Remember, the imperfections are the perfection of Zen Doodles, or my Zen Doodles anyway. So, got that finished. Now I'm going to start with the line work. You just want to bring your lines right across the top. If you took my wood tutorial earlier, you will remember this. It's just a bunch of lines that run straight across. It doesn't matter how thick they are. It doesn't matter if they're evenly spaced, if they're wonky lines or perfectly straight lines. It doesn't matter. What will matter is when you bring that line up against a pencil mark, you want to lift your pen. So bring it, you lift. You bring it, straight line across. When you come up against a pencil line, you want to lift your pen. So this is going to start creating that negative space in your Zen Doodle. For this portion, you really want to stick with using a pen, whether it's a ballpoint pen, a Sharpie pen, a Zen Tangle pen, it doesn't matter. I would not use a pencil because that will become a problem when we go to erase these marks. You don't want to do the whole piece in pencil because if you do, it's just going to erase all these lines too, and then you'll have a messed up Zen Doodle. So we're just going to bring these lines across, stopping when we get to a pencil mark and continuing on. Again, where are you holding your stress? Are your shoulders relaxed? Are you gripping that pen for dear life? Is your head cocked to the side? This is meant to relax you, not to cause bodily harm later. So just be aware of where you're holding that stress. For those of you that are using ballpoint pens, I will remind you to keep your fingers out of the ink until it's dry. You don't want to create any smudge lines. So again, if you're using a ballpoint pen, just really make sure that those lines are dry before you touch them. And don't worry about lines that look a little wonky or, kind of stand out, like you might have botched them. Don't worry about those. Don't start over. Just soldier through, because the next step that we're going to do is going to help uh, fix those or clean those up, and you really won't even notice them. So again, if they look a little wonky or crazy, don't worry about it. Just keep on going. It's all going to work out in the end. Some people might think like, oh, look, that looks a little botched in there. Don't worry about it. We're going to work on that. That will come later. As we get to the end here, I want to tell people, if you're working with a ballpoint pen, I want you to take a moment before we do this next step to make sure that your ink is good and dry. I don't want you smudging it all up. So when we get to the end, this last little couple lines, what we're going to do is erase all of our pencil marks. So, but you do not want to do this until your ink is dry. If you're working with a Sharpie or a Zentangle pen, it's not going to be a problem. It's only going to be a problem if you're working with a ballpoint pen. So take a moment, wait, and then erase. Okay, now that I have erased my pencil marks, I'm going to go in, because I put the border in, I'm going to go in and I'm going to weight that line, make it a little bit heavy, define it. It kind of will bring this piece up off the paper. It brings it forward. So I just go in here and I add a little weight to these lines. It also is going to allow some of these lines that I've done across the piece of paper that didn't go straight up to the border line. This is going to fix that. Or if I took lines and I went a little bit over the border line, adding this thick line in here will help to just clean that up, add a little definition. If you did not do a border and you're just working straight board, end of page to end of page, you don't even have to worry about this step. You can just move on to the next segment. But if you had a border, I would encourage you to darken this in. It just adds a little something to it, it brings it up. I think in retrospect, I wish I had brought this border a little bit wider. I took it kind of close to the edge of the paper there. I wish I hadn't done that, but it is what it is, and we just work with it and move through. And for those of you that, you're already not that happy with your piece, remember, this is just the first piece. Many times I'll do a Zen Doodle 3, 5 times just to get it where I really want it. I'm creating new Zen Doodles, new little things to add to it, take away. That's what this process is all about. So remember not to be bearing down on your pen, holding it loosely, taking deep breaths, relaxing your shoulders, and enjoying this time. Okay, now that we got our border in, I want to pick a few lines to just add some weight to. The details really help to bring the piece together. So I'm just going to take a few lines throughout the piece and add a little weight to them to define them. Those places that you thought were wonky or botched, you can go ahead and choose those lines. And then on your pieces, where the outlines are, the negative spaces, I'm just going to go and add thicker lines just on the outside. Don't make the whole line thick. Just add a little thickness, a little weight to those lines right on the outside of your negative space, like so. And you're going to want to do this around the entire negative space. Again, don't bring out that heavy weighted line all the way through. You just want to bring out, a couple centimeters to an inch. It's just going to add some extra character. If you're happy with your piece the way it was and you don't want to do this step, that's totally up to you. If you have a set of colored pencils or colored pens, you can use those just to add an extra funky detail to this piece. Again, just bring it out a couple centimeters to, yeah, I think an inch would even be too much. Just bring it out a couple centimeters. You're just defining that line around your negative space. See how that's really bringing that heart forward? And for people that are working with ballpoint pens, remember, watch where you put your fingers, because if you put them in that wet ink, it's going to smudge, and that'll break your heart after doing this and almost getting to the end. I can't tell you how many, when you're working on a custom order and you get to the end and then you put a smudge in there, oh, it's heartbreaking. I can't stand that. That's kind of why I stopped working with ballpoint pens or gel pens or pens like that, and I moved over to working with Sharpies because it was killing me to get all the way near to an end and then have a smudge happen. And of course, it was always like in the face. It wasn't ever like a piece of grass or a leaf on a tree. It was a spotlight place in the picture. So when I talk about doing these Zen doodles on a building block type process, we have kind of moved on naturally to the next step. This is creating weight or definition in our pieces using heavier line work. So the next step after this will be working with shading. We, you you've done your Zen Doodle. It's very flat, one-dimensional when you just do one Zen Doodle, with none of this extra work. So this is the next step, is just adding line weight to your pieces to bring things forward or set them back. And a couple videos on down the road will start to add shading in. But you can tell how this kind of brings these hearts, or brings whatever you got going on in your Zen Doodle forward, and creates a little more definition and adds character to your piece. It just makes it that much more interesting to look at. You can do this with the wood doodle that we're doing with all these lines. You can incorporate, when we did our vases, you can put the vases in the background. You can do any kind of Zen doodling, creating this negative positive space. And there you have it. That's our piece. I'm going to go in here and just create a little more character, add a couple weighted lines in here. Any lines that you thought were wonky or botched, you can go in and just add some heavier weight to them. There you have it, your latest Zen Doodle. I hope you enjoyed yourself and you were able to relax and empty your mind and just forget your problems for a little while. The motto here is be inspired, get creative, have fun, and be well. And with that, I will wish you all a wonderful evening here from Texas. And I look forward to seeing you again. Make sure you click that subscribe button, and I'll see you soon. Peace, love, and rocks.